Continuation TR3A is really what it's on.
Well, what I'm trying to accomplish today is I'm trying to get, I guess, an assessment of this project that I'm undertaking, mainly to figure out all the parts that came with it and what parts are usable and what parts I'm going to need to source, and really the condition of certain items, you know, particularly the tub and the frame and the engine and all the assorted items with that. So this is a 1962 TR3B, which is one of the last TR3s to roll off the assembly line. Condition is a little rough, but it looks like it's doable. Doesn't look like the car's been on the road for about 25 years, so there's going to be a lot of reconditioning of the body, some of the parts. Engine needs to be rebuilt. I'll probably be looking to get a parts car to fulfill some of the needs that this thing has. I acquired the car from the widow of Phil Sladen, Mary Sladen, who really didn't want the car anymore, and so she offered it to me for free. It was through Lionel. Lionel kind of brokered the deal, and I wasn't about to give up a free car. So, and I needed a project. You know, I have a TR7 project that I started, but I decided that I could probably I had room for it here at my father's garage, so why not?
Much bigger.
Hey, guys, hate to interrupt this. Can we start getting ourselves into groups so we can accomplish what we're trying to do? 4 groups, just kind of. Dave, do you want to kind of direct who goes where or how to do this? Get
Well, he's the key man.
Oh, yeah, not really.
You get a lot of people with experience here.
My brother can head up the suspension stuff because he had taken some of those parts home and he was messing with them. And then over here is just all the interior and exterior stuff that I have now. I've got printouts from the parts catalog. I've got it on my computer if we want to look at it. What I'm really just needing to know is kind of what I'm missing. I think mainly, you know, maybe for some of the suspension stuff, because that would be kind of one of the first things I would probably want to be starting with, I'm assuming. But other stuff, and especially like key things that are either going to be really hard to get or things that I gotta, you know, look at, you know, online at looking maybe parts cars to get, you know, stuff that you're not going to find in the catalog. You know, that's what I'm kind of hoping. And it's also, you know, to get some opinions on whether or not some of this stuff is salvageable and whether this project can be performed or not.
What do we have on this table? Describe that for me.
This is all your front suspension. Front suspension.
All the parts.
And steering, I guess. I guess that's steering.
And so far,
Or is that your,
so check this out. Which one was it with the oval? You found one with an
one
worn.
with the plastic bushing. I think that one looked like the
worn.
plastic bushing
Turns out
had
he's got a replacement
worn
part
out.
for it over here. That's, it seems, you know, round. And so, yeah. So it's looking.
I know on the 6 they sell complete bushing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And he's got
we have it. It looks like everything's here.
And it's Billy.
You know where it came from?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would go with it.
Now,
You got to spend some time with the blowout pictures to make sure you got them all, but
I have no idea what this is. That I've never seen before.
is this an assortment of front and rear?
I think this is
it's front.
This is all front. So yeah, those are the upper. I call them upper control arm. I guess basically
that-
all
right,
control arm
right, okay.
sideways.
The
And
6s were way heftier.
Yeah.
you know,
So
this
that
had a
clips
knurl.
together? Oh,
Yeah.
it takes the spring up through here, I guess? or-
No.
No?
The spring
It
ends
was on the
here.
It
tower.
ends.
Yeah,
Below it.
yeah. So this gets bolted to the top of the tower,
Right.
and then the trunnion piece somehow connects to that. Yeah, the ball joint. Right, yeah.
Oh, so it does, this spacer is not an aftermarket thing, that is a spacer for here. I looked at that and I was like, yeah, my TR6 had spacers in it, and
Yeah,
I took
because
them out.
I just added this on the,
Yeah,
on
changed
the
it.
red car.
But this looks like it's
Son of a gun.
part of the deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've
Interesting.
got those as well. All right.
You should have rubber here also though, like this has, yeah. I mean, obviously that's been replaced. Top and bottom.
I mean, without a screw by screw assessment, it sounds like, it looks like, you've got pretty complete, it's pretty complete, including some spare pieces here.
I think the doors and the fenders are in very usable condition. They need to be cleaned up. There's probably a couple, 40 to 60 hours of work just to do the external panel to get them to the point that you're going to prime them, at least. Like I said earlier, beware, don't rush to doing the dipping technique.
Yeah.
You can create more problems because unless they properly rinse, it's very costly because of chemical disposal nowadays, based on state laws, that people don't do what they should do in terms of rinsing that. So you can create
And
problems
that
2 years
leads
down the
to
road.
the paint later on, and
It
yeah,
stays there. You paint over it, then the chemicals are still there.
Right.
yeah. Like I mentioned before, I do have that I think it's Eastwood SRT tool that I've used on all the panels on two of my cars now, and it works really well.
I really like it.
Yeah.
It's $180.
We just checked $180.
And it's on the loaner list too, so if you want to borrow it, you can borrow it.
Crank here. Looks like it's already been machined. Yeah. So they put some effort into putting the crank back together. But I was talking about the actual crank bolt. These rear main seals, they used aluminum, and you can see there's already divots in there. So the newer ones have actually a rubber seal, because this is a real.
Just leaks.
Yeah, it leaks like crazy.
Is that reusable?
You couldn't reuse this. You don't want to reuse this. So the new ones have a neoprene or a rubber seal.
Oh, okay.
It just prevents this from developing another oil leak.
And this, in the condition that's in, is that salvageable?
Well, he's saying probably so because of the bearing. I wouldn't use it.
There was an accident in the front that needs, there's two ways of doing it. If you're very used, find somebody experienced on pounding out that damage, or do that front section of the inner fender needs to be replaced. Okay.
I mean, that 250 was in way worse shape than that tub when I started.
Yeah.
So it's definitely doable. It's just, it's going to take patience.
Yeah, the one thing I would look at, either online, eBay, or the Roadster Factory, or anywhere in the world for that matter, is get a replacement steering wheel. A lot of times you'll find people that have done it, bought it, and they simply, the hobby's no longer there because of age, because of interest, whatever the case may be.
Rough but workable.
Yeah, it's workable. I mean, all these channels
Doable.
are good.
I mean, a lot of the hard areas seem in pretty decent shape.
Yeah.
There's some work to do on the footwell area.
Now, in an instant like this, where the strap has pulled that in and bent that, how hard is that to get sorted out?
I mean, that's pretty severe. I mean, a good body guy could probably pound that out. But in this case, it may just be worth getting another fender because you also have. I don't know. This isn't in bad shape. I mean, rust-wise, it's not bad at all. But that's a pretty good dent there.
This side, I'd replace. I mean, it's got 1, 2, the strap, and another big dent over here. Unless for some reason they're so expensive that you want to spend the time to pop it out and fix it. There's a lot going
Depends on
on
what's
there.
available out there.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
It's doable. It can all be fixed.
Yep.
Well, what do you think a fender costs? I mean,
This card, no idea.
$600-700.
Again, I don't. Yeah.
I mean, that's going to take some work for sure. See what's on the edge like that. That's a trick. Yeah. It's all doable with patience.
Now, how would this be repaired?
Patch it. Have to be patched, but you have to match it on the thing with these. You have to match it on inside and outside, because you'll see the structure behind it also, and you're missing both sides here, inner and outer. So you'd have to repair the inside first. Once you do that, then you have something on the outside to spot weld it to. Yeah, it's kind of a two-part process there. But I mean, things like the sills, they're in real good shape. See, something like this, if I get a fender, I would just cut it here. I would not screw around with any of those attachment points and just weld in a new piece, a new.
Oh yeah, because the rest of it looks
Yeah,
nice.
yeah. Yeah, and battery box is one, that's a separate piece.
Oh, so you can buy that?
Yep.
They've got?
Yep. I know on
That would be.
the 6s you can, you just got to drill out the spot welds. And you put a new one in, spot weld it back, and you're in good shape.
Yeah.
Tore out completely. And they call it rod.
Yeah.
Because they have to get the channels that run
It's today's,
this
it's
way.
not the same.
And then they re-weld it back together.
Solder.
Then you
Yeah,
get real
solder.
steel. The radiator that came with the car, or the parts here, is the original crank hole version of the radiator. You can't buy it, and if you ask somebody to recore that radiator, you've lost your crank hole. Not that you ever plan on cranking your car over, but do not ever get rid of that.
And it always seemed like I was gonna go right through the turn.
The gears on that look excellent. But is that a TR4 flywheel or is that a TR3 flywheel? Now that it's being held up, it looks like there's blue paint on it, so it might be a TR4 flywheel. You got to check compatibility for the starter motor and the transmission you plop on.
But I was telling them with the TR3 transmission, they're just really not that valuable because they're non-synchro. But Rich was saying this had a synchro first.
Oh.
So I'm assuming that this is
TR3s don't have synchro on first. Right. However, there's two options. You can.
So if this flywheel's for a 4,
It could be.
yeah.
The fact that I saw blue paint on one side of it means he probably pulled it off of that engine.
So is this the B engine or the spade?
That's another TR4 engine he acquired. This is the original 3 one right there.
Right, and my understanding is that's the B, a real B engine.
It is, yeah.
How can you tell?
It's black. I assume it's the engine that came off the car.
That's what I was told.
Yeah. It looks like it was dipped. So he had started some work on it.
He did, right.
It looks like it was dipped and ready to actually begin the rebuild.
I think he was at the point of deciding whether he was going to put an electric motor in there or rebuild that engine.
So is the intention to restore this engine and put in the car, or rebuild what I think is the original engine and put it in the
I
car?
think what I'm hearing is the better engine to use would be the TR4 engine.
Well, what's your inclination about originality? I'm just saying you
You know,
need to decide in the next couple months.
Before you start the engine.
I don't,
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I don't,
And actually, the engine's the only real decision along that line. Sorry, I just thought
Yeah, you're right.
I think it'd be a monumental task to try and get this thing back to being original, as opposed to just making it, worthy
No,
to drive.
no, that's great. I'm just saying that's part of your decision tree.
Yeah, right. I mean,
And make it early.
The other
make it
option
early.
was, the other thought I had was, do some type of resto mod to where it was, modernize it. But I don't know, people put LS engines into these things or how that would work, But I don't see, you know, me trying to do that. I mean,
You're not
budget-wise.
You're going to change it to 12 volts, right? Negative. I assume this was a 6-volt positive system on these early ones.
These were positive ground.
Positive ground. I mean,
He's got
some
original generator there. He has
Got
a
an
modern day alternator sitting there. Most people flip them over to negative ground.
That's that way. Keep the original.
Well, and that's a huge decision
that's a
too.
huge
So
decision
yeah.
right there. What you're going to do? Drivability. You
Anybody
want to go 12
touches your car when you're broken down because your
Oh,
battery
God,
died,
you're-
toast your car if you leave it positive. If you're tired, you can toast your own car.
Yeah.
Also, so I've always gone over to negative ground just because it makes sense. It is very difficult based on today's British car part suppliers to find rear TR3 drums. The fact that those look like unscored, I don't see that much damage to the inside track of that drum. Clean them up. I think there are machine shops that will still do touch-up for those. And I would go to a regular machinist, not a car shop, and say, I need this inner surface put on a lathe and cleaned up. That's what I've done. Because a regular car shop nowadays is going to say, I don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
But a small town machinist will.
On mine, they'll have crack here and here. This whole piece.
It looks like the back end of the frame was repaired, most likely due to the typical rust that occurs at that point. So there's evidence that the back end was cut off and re-welded back on. And looking at the original factory service manual, looks like it was done properly. The frame's in good shape. The only recommendation, it was powder coated with gloss. I would decide whether you want a black frame or the color of the car, and repaint it with a non-gloss because that's standard for the cars.
And it's solid to run in its repaired condition?
It looks like an excellent condition. Yep.
And he says, no, but if you hum it, it'll play along.
Jeff Slimmer at Advanced
Finally, after they completely ran out of money, Medicaid.
No.
Body wise, welding, I mean, there's really, it's gonna take some work. I mean, I'm not trying to make light of it, there's a lot there, but it's all doable. I think Jim's idea of getting a donor car or a parts car is probably a good idea, and you can, one that's, you know, you don't want to rust out in the same place as you got here, because that's kind of defeats the purpose.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
I mean, something where you can kind of just cut out areas that you just need to patch, rather than so you're not replacing floor pans and stuff like that. I mean, even on the front inner fender, I would not replace that whole inner fender. I would cut off where it's damaged, and if you get a good piece to fit in there, I'd weld a piece on right there. The battery box can be replaced. They sell those as replacement parts. Fenders, you're gonna have to see what's out there on the market, whether you wanna try to fix these. I think a good body person could fix those, bang them out, and they'd be reasonable, because rust-wise, they're not bad. They're really not. I don't know what that mystery piece is that you have there. I mean, you got spare metal if you need it. Yeah. I mean, body-wise, you know, it's gonna take some work. Like I said, I have a welder. I'd be glad to sit down with you in the garage and we'll just work on some test panels if you want.
Sure.
You know, and go at it. And as far as I'm concerned, you can even use the welder if you want.
Well, that's right. It's pretty light metal. You want a nice touch.
Starting
out.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I don't know if these. I know the 6. I think was 18 gauge. I'm not sure what these are. They may be a little heftier. Not sure. But yeah, you got a little practice. You don't burn through and stuff. But even if you burn through, you cut that out and make a bigger patch.
That works.
It's all fixable. It's,
Paint stripper and a wire brush, you do that stuff.
yeah.
Well, and also you missing the rotors, so the donor car might have some of the other pieces like that too.
Yeah.
And I think Jim's a good source for parts too. He has stuff. I would definitely get Jim's phone number.
Well, what's your take on what the immediate step would be? Like, because obviously the project was pretty overwhelming if you look at the whole thing. Yeah.
The overwhelming part that I see is that you don't have bags of labeled nuts and bolts and that kind of stuff. That's the stuff where that's going to be a toughest part.
Yeah, one key to extensive restoration is to be organized and have everything bagged, labeled, boxed. You know, like when we took our cars apart, that was key. You know, you get boxes, you get Ziploc bags, you
Everything's
label
labeled.
everything.
Pictures.
Yeah, right, lots of pictures.
It's amazing. You take something apart. Oh man, I got this. And 2 weeks later, and what is this?
Well, and along that line, finding someone with a TR3 and spending an entire afternoon taking pictures might be a great starting point. Because otherwise, it's like
an assembled car.
What-
You know,
yeah.
when I did this frame off on my Maple car, I had the red TR6. A
Sitting
fully
right
assembled
there.
car right there, you know?
Yeah.
So it was a great reference to be able to see how, you know, I saw how everything was when I took it apart. But putting it back together
Try to
sometime,
remember.
I needed a visual reminder.
But anyway, start finding
remember
someone
where
with
that
a
bag is.
TR3 and taking a bunch of pictures would be a good starting point.
I
because
think
you
that's
can-
your first step, is to get really well organized
Yeah.
and identify everything you got.
He
and
doesn't.
make sure it's
The
labeled.
problem is he doesn't have the nuts and bolts. It didn't seem to come with everything. I don't know. Do you think there's any chance that it may still be over there?
Well, I can't say. As far as I knew, everything was in the garage and out there on those cinder blocks, the body. And of course, Mary Lynn really didn't know.
Is the TR3-4, are they unified threads or Whitworth and whatever?
You could
I
take,
think they're.
you could take a car apart with a 1/2 inch open end wrench.
Really?
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
so they're not Whitworth.
Rich can comment about the Whitworth hardware on the car. Where is he?
Anything before 1948, other things were Whitworth, but
Okay.
All the unified nuts and bolts go to the bolt depot and get grade 8
Probably gonna
parts.
have is how do you know length? I mean, I can understand thread, but how do you know length and
They
did
do.
it have a collar on it? Not no collar. That kind of stuff is.
Yeah.
Who's
Well,
that?
once you know what you want, their prices for grade 8 proper.
And what's it
bolts. The Bolt Depot.
Okay.
Like on
They're
the
better than
drive.
McMaster's and I mean.
Yeah, but like divide the prices by 4.
Okay.
That's online again.
Yeah.
For your engine assembly and that drive shaft that's sitting over there without bolts, you wanna get a real grade A.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Hardened bolt. You don't wanna go to Home Depot.
I appreciate everybody coming out here and, you know, giving some feedback on this. You know, at least gives me some encouragement that you know it you know might one day be something I'm going to be driving. So.
And the other, I mean, here's another plug for Get Your Hands Dirty. But if you got a project coming with this, just let us know. If it's something that a bunch of us can help you with, call us out. We'll get another Get Your Hands Dirty session going for you.
Well, that's true. When it's time to put the engine in training on, the spare hands would be really valuable.
Yeah, I think you need to not get overwhelmed by the whole project. Just do, after you get everything organized, just do these little parts, these subsystems.
It's a bit like, how do you eat an elephant?
Right,
One mouthful at a time.
Yeah,